I was fortunate enough to go to Brown University. I studied international commerce, like many of you in here. I got a job on Wall Street, which I didn't take. I decided to go and sail on a 100-year-old sailing ship in the South Pacific instead. I was gone for almost a year. Most people called me an idiot already then. Then, when I came back, I decided that I wanted to unite my passion with my education. And my passion was outdoor sports. So I was fortunate, again, to get a job with Patagonia. I worked for Patagonia in Europe, and then I worked for Patagonia in America. I was within the company for 5 years, and then I decided to quit. I wanted to pursue a career as a professional athlete. Again, I was called an idiot. So, in 1995, I, together with Matt Scott, we decided to start a career racing and adventure racing. At the same time, we also created a company to manage our income from sponsors, but also to work with sports marketing. We decided that the theme of our company would be passion-driven marketing, working with emotions. Mats and I, we still have a company together, 24 years later, and we still work with the same things. So I think that is pretty cool in itself. Our job and our racing career took us to many places around the world. And we did some fantastic events. We worked with integrated marketing campaigns, one of which was in Japan, where we had 49 million TV viewers for an event. We launched the Volvo expedition cross-country by doing a big integrated marketing campaign. We worked with Nokia. We've done huge incentives with Ericsson, and so on. But the big thing happened in 2011. I also worked with a company called ProCamp, where we do special projects, construction company. And we did projects in Puntland, in Yemen, and we did one in South Sudan. In South Sudan, we managed to finance the whole project with the Havala system, because the banking system didn't work. Do you know about Havala? Nobody in here knows about Havala. Well, that's something for you to study then. It's a fantastic ancient way of transferring money from one place to another. So that's another lecture we can talk about another day, but not today. But all in all, what I want to tell you is that I love problems. Or not really problems, I like to find solutions. I see it a little bit as we're like a river that always finds its way to the sea. You put a boulder in the way, and it finds a different way. And that's the way that I like to look at the world, to find solutions for whatever comes in the way. And in 2006, I met 4 guys who had made a bet. They got drunk one night in a bar and decided that they would challenge, 2 of them would challenge 2 others, to run and swim from the island of Uta to the island of Sandhamn. I don't know if you can see it here. The island of Uta is there. The island of Sandhamn is up there. 75 kilometers in the Stockholm archipelago. There's at least 26 islands to run and swim between. They did it in 2003 and 2004. When I found out about it, they asked myself and Mats if we could make a commercial idea out of it. I really triggered on it because it sounded so impossible to run and swim that distance. So I said, this sounds really cool. Mats and I talked about it, and we decided if we can manage to run and swim on our own and do it within daylight hours, we have to try to do the actual race. We did, and we decided to call it Ötjö, because that's what we were doing. Ötjö means island to island in Swedish. So in 2006, in September, we had 9 teams that started. And why teams? We said that we needed to be pairs. One, for safety reasons, because you had to be able to take care of the other if something happens on the way. But also because it's so much better if you share the experience with somebody else. When you do a race, you say on your own, you say, oh, I finished at that place, or I had that time, or I was tired, or I was not tired. When you share the experience with somebody else, it becomes emotional. And you and that person share something for the rest of your life. That year we had 2 teams that finished. Mats and I knew then that if we had 2 teams that finished, we could start a company based on this. People said we were idiots again. In 2007, we had 12 teams on the start line. 4 of the teams we coerced in the bar the night before and said, you have to start because we only have 8 teams and we need to have more on the start line for our second year because our sponsors really wanted us to grow. And so we coerced four teams and said, you start, doesn't matter, you just do the first run and the first swim, then you can stop. Again, we only had 2 teams that finished. 75 kilometers. But the big thing was we had a Navy SEALs team that participated. They did not finish. And Aftonbladet, one of the Swedish newspapers, they made a huge article about it, and they said, Navy SEALs beaten in the Stockholm archipelago. And the myth was created. 2012 came along. So between 2006 and 2012, we were the only ones around. When we started the event, we said, we want to create a race that is renowned in the whole world and that people will travel to from all over the world. By 2012, we had almost 700 teams applying to our race. We had 120 spots because we couldn't fit anymore. At the same time, 4 other races showed up on the Swedish endurance sports scene, which were copycat races. So we realized that all of a sudden, Öttiö had gone from being something crazy to something that others wanted to do. The same year, one of our participants said, do you mind if I call what I'm doing swim run? And we said, no, that sounds fantastic. Before that, we didn't have a name for the sport that we were doing. So in 2012, as there were 4 other races, we decided to call the event the Öttiö Swim Run World Championship. Because, I mean, we were the first and the best, and the others, they were copying us. CNN wrote, Öttiö is one of the toughest races in the world in 2012. And the myth continued to grow. 2016, this is one of the biggest triathlon magazines in the world, wrote on the front page or on the cover, Swim Run, the new endurance race, it says, but sport, to rival Ironman. I don't know what you know about Ironman, but Ironman is a monster. It was sold 3 years ago for $500 million US. For us to be mentioned in the same sentence as Ironman was mind-boggling. We felt that we were more like a speck of color on the sky of the endurance world. But we realized that we were something more than that. So today, we are the Swim Run World Series. We're also managing the Swim Run World Championship. We have races in France, in England, in Sweden, in Germany, in Croatia, in Switzerland. We have 8 destinations around the world. We have 52 nations in our races. The World Championship, or the record time on Öttiö, went from 12:35 to 7:35. I don't know if there's anybody in here that runs, but 7:35 is an average time of 5 minutes and 14 seconds per kilometer running and swimming for 75 kilometers, where the running is a marathon and a half in a wetsuit, and the swimming is 10 kilometers on and between 24 islands. So it's mind-boggling fast. We have more than 3,000 racers in our system every year. and there's more than 700 swim run races around the world. Today, we are, and we were always, the origin of the sport, but we're also the major influencer of the sport around the world. So why did we manage to do this? And the primary thing is the belief. We had the passion and the belief that we would manage to build a sport and build a company out of this. We're 8 people that work with this full-time today. And we never gave up because we felt in the bottom of our stomach that this is the way to go forward, to introduce something completely outside the box for the endurance world. And that's what it's about. It's about creating dreams. It's about creating emotions. And creating something which is completely outside the box. And giving the opportunity to others. I know that everyone in here of you can manage to live outside the box once in a while with us. And that has been driving our way forward. We also want to challenge our racers in a sport where we make no difference between men and women, and where we want to create change within the endurance community. The team, and going back to the adventure racing time, I spent 13 years of adventure racing, where you race in a team. When you do that, you realize that the team is the primary focus of your way forward. The team where you suffer together, and you're willing to suffer together, where you're willing to reap the rewards of what you're doing together, and where you make no difference between each other. It's also about having a very clear objective and a very clear goal, so that that goal is what drives your process forward. It's not a person, it's not a leader. It's the goal and your objective that is what drives you forward. That way we can always move forward and always find a way forward. Doesn't matter if it's what I believe or Mats believes or anybody else in our company believes. It's about what takes us the fastest towards our objective. That drives the process for us. Then it's about building a community. And for us, building a community has been essential. It's a community where everyone really cares for each other. It's not the sharp elbows of the endurance world, but where we say that we're taking you out into extreme nature. And in that extreme nature, we want you to take responsibility for your partner, because you're racing as a partner, and your partner to take responsibility for you. So that means that you are constantly dependent on another person. In this world of living in me, myself, and I, it's pretty different. And we also say that if you see somebody having a problem next to you, stop, help them, and take care of them. There's only one winner to a race. And that's not really that important. The most important is the emotion and the experience that you have that you can learn and grow from. So the community that cares for each other and that cares for what we do in nature is really important. And our community is strong. It communicates a lot. We also feel that we want to be a huge vehicle of change, where we can use our platform to achieve new things. So we talk a lot about Clean the Ocean. And Clean the Ocean for us is a program that we've started the day before the races, where we go out with the local communities and clean whatever we can find. 80% of the plastic that's found in the ocean today is thrown on land. So whatever plastic we can pick and find, we pick, we find, and then we document it. And we try to get the local communities to understand how important this is. Now, we just had a race in Var in Croatia this past weekend. And we finalized the whole event by coming to terms that next year we will do a whole Clean the Ocean Day with the whole town of Var. They're going to close the schools, they're going to take everybody out, and people are going to be out cleaning their beaches and the environment around them. So this is really cool for us. Then we talk about Swim Run for Life. We also want to be socially engaged. And the social engagement for us is that we work with a Roma company where everything that we buy from them keeps women and children off the streets. So the kids go to school, the women can sit home and sew, and they don't have to sell themselves on the streets. And last but not least, we talk about footsteps and memories. We want to reduce the impact that we have, our footprint, on an event location. And we talk to all the other endurance companies or endurance sports where we want to influence them to also reduce their footstep or their footprint. So we've taken away paper cups at aid stations. People now have to have their own cups. We have minimal branding so that we don't pollute the actual beauty of the place. And we speak about footsteps and memories as everything we want to leave behind. We want to create our own success. And the way we do this is with our community, and it's also by communicating. And we have been very fortunate that we live in a time when the digital era is as strong as it is. So we've built a webcast at the World Championships. So during a 12-hour day, we have almost 440,000 views. We have 20,000 plus viewer hours. We work by storytelling, by creating value-based stories, not sports-based, but value-based stories for major magazines and newspapers around the world. I think we've been featured in every big magazine you can find in the world or newspaper, New York Times, Guardian, Wall Street Journal, so on. The letter here, for example, is from one of the editors-in-chief from the Wall Street Journal thanking us for the packages that we provide. And then we work a lot through our social media channels. Again, we're lucky that we're at the time of this digital growth, but the social media channels are really important because we use them to convey a very strong message, and that is a value-based message again. It's not about performance. And we also see that our participants are our best customers or our best ambassadors. And they, usually when you go to an event, you buy images. We say you can have all our images for free. So they share them. So they are our primary tool of communication. And then we have a view of how to deal with competition. For us, we don't look at what everybody else is doing. We can analyze and see what they're doing, but we don't worry about it because we can't change what they're doing. The only thing we can focus on is our mission and how do we move forward in our mission to get to our goal. The competition's not interesting. And we constantly try to challenge ourselves where we want to find new formats, new ideas, new ways to grow. How do we become more sustainable? How do we move forward? We constantly question what we do so that we can grow as a company, so that we can do things in a better manner, so that we can be more sustainable, and so that we can finance what we're doing. And now we've realized that what we actually are is that we're a web shop. Because we sell races and we sell experiences over the internet. And we do that with a communication platform that we've created. So now we have to, again, rethink of how do we communicate and build this to move forward, to grow even more. And that we're doing at the same time as we're trying to go to the US. So next year, I think we will have our first race in America. And that is going to be a huge step forward for us again. So my challenge to you is live and follow your passion. And 2, try to be outside the box once in a while. Thank you.